So Jeffrey Lachs has had a front row seat to the decay of New York City, and it's only just getting started. Can you imagine? The CUNY professor explains how it's about to get worse under Mamdani, and he also weighs into Tucker Carlson saying up on stage in Doha that he plans on buying a house in Qatar, and then of course reiterates that he's not taking any money from them. Well, Jeffrey says it's worse to be investing in them. Have a look. Jeffrey Lachs, thank you so very much for joining us here on the Erin Molan Show. It's such a privilege to have you.
It's so great to be with you, especially as a non-Jewish person. I really want to thank you on behalf of all Jewish people who've been dealing what we've been dealing with. Your voice is respected. It is loud. It is morally clear-eyed. So God bless you.
Bless you. That genuinely means so much. So thank you. And I'm so sorry that you have to be grateful for voices like mine. It should just be the norm everywhere. But unfortunately, that is not the position we find ourselves in. But bless you and thank you. It's very much appreciated. I want to talk about someone who is the complete opposite of how I have been in this space. Let's start. And I'll get your story in a little bit, but I want to start straight on Tucker Carlson, who's been speaking in Doha and has just announced that he is buying a house there. God bless. And he says it as though it is some kind of, see, I'm not bought by Qatar. I'm buying a house there. Sorry, what?
Okay. I mean, you know, I was all set to go on with you tonight, and I was excited about it. I had a whole list of things I wanted to talk about. And then I see this on social media pop out. And like you said, Tucker Carlson is announcing, I don't take money from Qatar. I give money to Qatar. Now,
That's
the
so
only
much
thing
better.
worse that I can imagine than taking money from Qatar is giving them money. And like you said, he's saying it proudly. He's talking to Prime Minister Sheikh as if he's talking to him like he's the leader of a third world democracy. He's not. He's the leader of a country that is one of the few left in the entire world that enforces systemic Sharia law. This is where Tucker, he complains about free speech in the U.S. Guess what? There's no free speech in Qatar. You can't speak out against Islam in Qatar or you go to jail. You can't speak out against the government in Qatar or you go to jail. Marital rape is legal in Qatar. Women have to travel around with male guardians. Gays are arrested. If they're lucky, they're arrested. It's illegal to be gay in Qatar. This is where Tucker Carlson sees freedom. This is where he wants to own a home, and he's proud of it. Shocking news. I just hope people start to finally realize this is not someone to follow or to emulate.
I mean, also people may be envious of him. I would also advise them not to be envious of him. His position is completely unenviable in my opinion. I look at that, Jeff, and I think about all of the lead up to this, and I look at, you mentioned all the kind of pains that this regime inflict upon their own people. Let's now also look at where they put their money. So if you're investing in a place like Qatar, as one of, if not the biggest funders of the Muslim Brotherhood, of terrorism globally, they then of course come in and pretend to be the peacemakers as well as those who are creating the chaos. Like, where does he think that money will go? Any investment in a place like Qatar gets spent in some pretty horrific places.
Yeah, more and more information is coming out every day about the money Qatar is pumping into Western universities. Certainly, we're hearing a lot of it here in the United States. We know that maps of the Middle East, for example, have been traveling around public schools in my city in New York, and we know that they were paid for by Qatar. So these maps have a picture where Israel should be, but kind of not there. And Qatar paid for those maps. And like you said, this is happening worldwide. Qatar is the home to the highest level Hamas leaders. I wonder if Tucker's going to be living next door to one of them and they'll bring over a homemade batch of hummus, as Tucker likes to talk about.
As he did at Charlie Kirk's memorial.
Charlie Kirk
exactly
dies
right.
and he's making jokes. I mean, he's just a sick guy, and this is where he wants to live. So disgusting. But yeah, like you said, he's spending money in really the top terror funding nation in the world that has no human rights. It is consistently ranked one of the worst human rights abusers in the entire world.
Slavery.
That's where he wants to live.
They don't even hide it. It's there for all to see. But of course, the influencers who are currently there the American conservative influences, they're not showing that element of it. And this is my issue here. You know, I look at different countries who host people, and I know a lot of people don't have the means to go and visit places. So that's okay. When you are a democratic nation and there is no pressure, onus, stipulation that you then have to, you know, put out positive coverage. That's not what Qatar do. You are compromised if you are taking any money from Qatar.
I mean, I don't think he is taking money from Qatar.
No, and I'm sorry, I've moved on to the influencers who were over there.
I agree.
Who are on funded trips and saying, well, I've got to make a living. But apparently in those contracts, you actually do have to be positive in your coverage.
Yeah, we do know what's happening. And you did a great interview with the opposition leader who, I have to admit, I didn't even know who he was. I never heard of him. Khalid al-Hayl.
That's the one in exile.
And that was a phenomenal interview that you did with him. I hope that even if one fraction of what he says is true and is going to happen, that would be a monumental development in terms of the investigations that are happening, potentially a change in leadership there and some democratic principles being enforced. So I hope that happens. But as it stands now, you're right. Qatar is an evil regime, one of the worst in the world. Yeah. And like you said, one of the things that Khalid al-Hayl said with you, I believe, if I heard right, was that they bought even news networks, even they said
they've invested in Newsmax. I've got to make sure I get the right one.
And I have to say, Newsmax has been very good on Israel. Has been good to me
in Israel.
Personally.
The boss of Newsmax was in Israel recently, Chris Ruddy.
Yes, that's right. And Chris Ruddy is a friend of mine. So it's very hard to understand, but obviously is very troubling to have any type of influencer or leader taking money from Qatar. But again, worse to give them money.
Yes, that's exactly right. You're based in New York. How are you looking forward to the Mamdani era? Have you started to see any kind of signs that it's coming, or is it already there?
Oh, it's already here. I mean, we've already had, you can tell Mamdani's New York has already taken over. We've had an incident already at my university, at City College, which is one of the flagships of our university. And they had an imam, they had a DEI event, which is such garbage. And the imam noticed that there was a Jewish person there and said, all Muslims leave the room. And there were about 100 Muslims there, and they all left. And actually the victims of that were not the Jews in the room. There were very few Jews. There were about 20 Christians who were just sitting there looking at each other. And they were the ones who were really victimized. And people don't realize that the Jews are really the start to these true agendas. And the agenda here is the strangest is this alliance, which is Marxists and Islamists. And you think to yourself, what on earth
do they have in common?
Right. What on earth do they have in common? Do Islamists want abortion on demand in the 9th month? Do Marxists want a theocratic rule? I don't understand this, but then you figure it out. There's one thing that they both have in common. That is, they want to destroy Western culture. It is so clear. And when you look in New York City in particular, over the past couple of years, you see Marxist/Islamist groups who are blocking thoroughways, blocking federal buildings, blocking Amtrak, blocking JFK International Airport. These are not accidents. These are them sending a very strong message, which is we are going to block infrastructure because we don't believe in the infrastructure in the United States, in any Western country.
It's that horseshoe theory, isn't it? Where they kind of meet at the top and go, wait a minute, I'm not particularly fond of you and you're not particularly fond of me, but we have a shared goal here. Yeah. And you look at, Mamdani in a transgender strip club standing there as though he is somehow part of a group that would ever accept that. Never. But it's a means to the end for all of them. And this is, this meeting of the two that we've seen that is more dangerous almost than any other that we've seen in recent times. How do you find, I know that you are so passionate about particularly anti-Semitism on college campuses, and you've been such a strong voice in this space, and I thank you so much for it. Have you seen, obviously, Donald Trump has been very strong in this area, and I had Alex Witkoff actually on the show yesterday, and he spoke about, the strength of Donald Trump in this space as well. How do you see it now, and do you see it particularly in places like New York going backwards under Mamdani? Do people get a green light to go hard again?
it's going to be, I hate to say an interesting situation, but Erin, I'm a grandson of 4 Holocaust survivors.
Wow.
And I have to tell you, this is the first time I've ever said this in any interview that I've ever done. I'm actually scared for the first time in my entire life with the horseshoe theory that you just talked about, what's going on with Mamdani and living in New York. I'm not scared for myself. Long ago, I accepted whatever happens to me happens to me. I'm sure you feel the same way many times, that you just want to say how you feel. And man, do I love you so much for that. But having kids like you and I both do, you're scared for them. You're scared for future generations. You're scared for your country. You know, I'm a huge patriot and I care about my family. And that's what I'm scared about, because I'm seeing things happen that I've never seen happen, that I never even imagined would happen in my lifetime. And one example is that Mamdani, this very soon to be mayor of New York, who is really a Marxist, he's not even a socialist, clearly an anti-Semite. You know, he supports the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, an anti-Semitic movement that pushes for the boycott of anybody affiliated with Israel. Now, what that means in New York is you are going to have, no doubt in my mind, this is a prediction, but I'm sure it's going to happen. You are going to have Jewish businesses boycotted in New York for the first time since 1930s Germany. That, to me, is truly scary, because that's what started the lead up to Kristallnacht in Germany. The story that my grandparents told us about when we were little children. And the stories you hear that you don't think could possibly ever happen again. You're going to have violence. There has already been violence on the streets. There was a synagogue, a famous synagogue, Park East Synagogue. I'm sure you heard the story just about a week ago. Again, this is Mamdani's New York, where these Islamist Marxists, again, that combination, why, blocked the synagogue, harassed people going into the synagogue. And Mamdani says nothing about it except for that the synagogue goers were to blame because they were having an event that had to do with Israel. I mean, goodness gracious. So I really am. I've never said this before. People need to speak out more than ever, because it really is a scary time, and it is existentially scary, and not just for Jews, for all decent people who believe in democracy and freedom.
Could not agree with you more, and you're absolutely right. I had the foreign minister on last week, the Israeli foreign minister, talking about what was happening in Ireland with the erasure of street names, Jewish street names of the former president. And he made that exact point. He said, this is what happened in the lead up to the Holocaust. They started to do these kinds of things, and people will often say, oh, you're exaggerating, or you're, you know, it's not that bad. If you actually look at the things that led to one of the most horrific things in history, we're starting to see them, not just one-offs, but repeatedly. And that is terrifying. And I always say, I will never be someone who will ever stand by and watch it happen or let it happen on my watch. And I feel like people are not awake to how legitimate the threat is. And you said it earlier, even if you say, oh, well, that's really sad for Israel and the Jews, but I'm not Israeli and I'm not Jewish, it doesn't affect me. It does. It affects all of us in Western countries and nations who care deeply about what you just said, democracy and freedom. It doesn't end with the Jews. It starts with them. But when they drive a car into a Christmas market at 8 p.m. and you're there with your kids, they're not checking if you're Jewish. They want to destroy everything that we love and believe in.
100% right. And it's the poem, the Martin Molière poem, you know, first they came for the Jews. That's how it goes. And, you know, again, this is something I've never spoken. You bring stout stuff out of me, Erin. That's amazing. I've never spoken about this before, but it's really hitting home for me right now. My grandmother taped a video for Steven Spielberg's project all the way back, and she's long passed, in 1996. And every few years, I promise my mother I'm going to try to watch it this year. And I can't get through it. I go through 10 minutes and I am crying and bawling on my keyboard, trying to watch it on my computer screen. And I can't get through more than 10 or 15 minutes. I have yet to watch it. It's one of my deepest regrets in life. Yeah. And what you said a few minutes ago really hit home for me, how casual it is. Yeah. People wouldn't expect this. People probably think that I'm hearing about my grandmother watching friends get murdered in the streets. That's not what it is. The thing that makes me bawl is how casual my grandmother was when she was talking about this. And then we had to put on these yellow stars. And then they said that Jews can't go here. And she's saying it so casually as these are normal things
Yes.
to happen in a society.
That's heartbreaking. That's actually even worse in some ways, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
But it was not like George Clooney just referencing, oh, Amal was doing some work with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. Like it's a funny anecdote about their love and how impressive she is. It's that casualization, normalization of a regime that is responsible for the vast majority of death, suffering in the world. It's insanity.
It really is. I mean, and I know Trump is trying really hard to get the Muslim Brotherhood, at least in America, classified as a terrorist group. If I know for political reasons, it's got to be done piecemeal. Absolutely. But Mrs. Clooney, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know how you do something like that. It's disgusting.
Yeah, no, it is. And you look at that, and the point I often make to people is there is nothing you look at. They are banned in Egypt. And Egypt is not exactly a country that is sympathetic to the Jews or to Western civilization. People like Dalia Ziada, after October 7, had to flee for her life from Egypt because she said Israel has a right to defend itself. And this country banned the Muslim Brotherhood. We're not talking about an organization that's kind of on the edge. No, they are all in to evil. So for someone in America, a celebrity, to think that it's just it's a noble thing, or she's so incredibly impressive, look what she was doing. No, but this is how it starts. And people who aren't invested like you and I, people who aren't engaged, people who don't have the capacity to understand or to learn, hear that and think, oh, they must not be that bad. Like George Clooney's talking about them on Drew Barrymore's talk show. He's proud of his wife, and he's a Hollywood star. Like this is how it happens, and it chips away bit by bit by bit, and then you end up with what we had in the 1930s. You said it really so well. It's really the false sense of security that we are separated from this somehow. This is not coming for us. And sometimes some of these Middle East countries know a lot better than us what's really going on. Like you said, Egypt and the Muslim Brotherhood, they banned them there. And the UAE has declared CARE a terrorist group. CARE is a terrorist group. Yes. And we should be declaring them in Western countries as well.
Why do we think we know better than the countries at the coalface of it?
Exactly
so
right. Exactly right. And CARE, we know for a fact, because they were an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest terror financing case in American history, the Holy Land case. CARE was the FBI to federal courts because CARE tried to get themselves off the list. They were on a list of unindicted co-conspirators. Just because they were not indicted doesn't mean they didn't do what they did. They did it. And two federal courts found that there was enough evidence to show they did it, which is funneling money directly to Hamas. So if you're funneling money directly to Hamas, and we know CARE did that and was involved in doing that, you are a terrorist group, and the UAE knows better than us. And we should take a page from Egypt with Muslim Brotherhood, and from the UAE and the other Arab countries who understand and don't want to let these people into their countries.
That's exactly right. You look at Indonesia, and I lived in Indonesia for 7 years, and I speak the language fluently. I love the country, the world's most populous Muslim nation. They have, and under Widodo, the former president, all but eradicated Islamic extremism, the terrorism in their country that was a huge issue for them, not just from a tourist perspective in places like Bali where they had awful incidents, but domestically as well. And they spent a large part of the last 4 years eradicating it because they know that Islamic extremism hurts Muslims more than it hurts anyone else in the world. Yet in a Western nation, if you refer to it as Islamic, oh, you're racist, even though it's a religion, you're this, you're that. And you go, Muslims don't want it in their country. How is it somehow, bigoted for us not to want it?
Getting back to Tucker a little bit. So this is why he has it so wrong. He is on not only the wrong side of history, he's the leader of a movement on the wrong side of history, along with people like in my country, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. And, he has these podcasts where he has people coming on, George Stephanopoulos' sister, who's apparently a nun, who's lying about atrocities.
I'm sorry, I am a girl's girl, but is that the nun with the moustache?
I didn't want to say it, but yes.
He is essentially giving a massive platform to people who are telling lies.
Yes, and he's talking about the atrocities Israel has committed against Christians, these purported atrocities. That is the most disgusting lie on earth. Israel is the only country on earth that preserves all the Christian sites. In fact, when the Druze were being massacred,
in Syria,
Israel is the country that went in and saved them in Syria. So how can you say that Israel is not? And by the way, there's a group called Open Doors World Watch, which lists the worst persecutors of Christians worldwide. They have 50 top countries. You know, obviously, the obvious ones people know about are Nigeria and Sudan and in Syria, like I said, with the Druze, and so many other countries. Israel's not on that list at all. Israel's not on there. Israel protects Christians. You have all religious rights, and all the Christian sites are protected in Israel. And Israel's the only one that excavates and tries to save those sites as well. So it's so disgusting what he's doing. And then my question has always been, even as of 2 days ago, what is Tucker's goal? Because I consider him to be the most dangerous person in America right now because of the horseshoe
far more
theory.
dangerous than Candace. You can write off Candace as being quite insane at different moments, but Tucker has this ability to give legitimacy to things that are insane, and that is far more effective.
100%. Yeah. 100%. And so what he's doing is, now the left is always going to stay with the left. So no matter what lunatic they put up for president in 2028, the left will get behind it, whether it's AOC, whether it's Bernie at 107 years old, whoever it is.
Newsom,
it doesn't
even
matter.
though Halle Berry will be really annoyed because he doesn't support women.
But the left will vote for that person. It could be Kamala again, right? I mean, it could be Joe Biden. He's eligible to run. They will vote for whoever it is. But the Republicans are critical thinkers for the most part, unlike the left. And because we believe in freedom of speech and because we believe in legitimate argument, there is now a real rift being caused on one side of the horseshoe. And that's the scary part.
Yeah.
Tucker doesn't have the power to get rid of all the evangelicals in the country. He doesn't have the power to get rid of people he says he hates, Christian Zionists. What a disgusting thing to say.
Worse than the Nazis, aren't they, apparently? I mean, come on.
Unbelievable.
Appalling.
Yeah. But he does have the power to rift the conservatives. I think in your country, they're called liberals.
They are.
But the Republican Party here, which means we would become a permanent minority in this country. Because if the Democrats take power again, they are going to stack our Supreme Court. They're going to add 2 states to the Senate here. They're going to get rid of our filibuster. They will do what they need to do, and the Republicans will be done. And that is the end of civilization because they're not Democrats anymore. They are truly socialists, that party. That's where they are right now.
No, agree entirely. Jeffrey, we've run out of time, but I could talk to you for hours. You are so brilliant. Thank you so, so much for helping to raise awareness and also for sharing some personal stories, which I really, really appreciate. And I think that to me, when people are talking, you want to make people feel, and you have made people feel without any doubt. And I think that's the most effective advocacy you can ever do. So thank you. I know it makes a huge difference, and I can't wait to get you back on again soon.
Erin, you make people feel too, and God bless you.
Bless you. Thank you so much.